Just ahead on CTV News. Governor Moore no longer looking to work with President Trump. Plus, the county school system showcases their career training program.
It's pretty great because, not a lot of people get this opportunity, so it's good that at least we get the opportunity to be able to leave high school with this certification.
And we sit down with a County Council District 5 candidate. Those stories and more on CTV News, starting now.
Good evening. This is CTV News for February 25th. I'm Katara Jones.
And I'm Michaela Noon. Thanks so much for joining us. Well, Maryland Governor Wes Moore is done trying to work with President Trump, saying a White House meeting with governors went off the rails. Moore says Trump's remarks were nothing but conspiracy theories and personal grievances, and that the president missed a chance to build working relationships with state leaders. He also warned Maryland must brace for federal budget cuts and mass layoffs, with the government shutdown just 17 days away. Now, Moore vows to fight back through executive action and lawsuits as tensions with the White House heat up.
Meantime, a new UMBC poll shows Governor Wes Moore still enjoys a majority approval, but support from independent voters is dropping fast. Moore's overall approval sits at 52%, but independent backing plummeted 10 points, while disapproval among them spiked 12 points. Pollsters point to a growing budget fears and possible tax changes as key factors driving the shift. With a $3 billion deficit and federal cuts looming, Moore faces tough decisions that could further test his approval.
Well, a new bill could block immigration agents from entering schools, hospitals, and churches in Maryland. The Protecting Sensitive Locations Act will require the Attorney General to issue guidelines on how schools, hospitals, and places of worship interact with ICE agents. Sponsor Senator Will Smith says the guidelines aren't legally binding, but give state agencies a clear framework to follow.
It's just promulgation of guidance, right? So there's nothing binding there. And so what you don't want to do is present a situation where you're providing people with a false sense of security or hope in certain locations, but you want to make sure that our government agencies have guidelines for operation in certain circumstances and their interactions with federal ICE agents. Our Attorney General actually has some very significant guidance on their website. So Anthony Brown has been very forward-thinking on this, and so I would encourage Marylanders to consult that website and that resource. We're continuing to work with his office on this bill, and we'll see how it goes.
Now, because it's emergency legislation, it would take effect immediately if passed, not wait until July. Supporters say it's critical as federal protections have been rolled back.
A federal judge is slamming the brakes on Trump administration's move to allow immigration enforcement in places of worship. Judge Theodore Chuang ruled Monday that 8 religious groups can exempt their 1,700 chapters from the policy, including Quaker meetings in Adelphi and Baltimore. That means ICE must follow the stricter 2021 guidelines when conducting immigration operations at their locations. But the fight isn't over. Other religious groups are pushing for broader protections in a separate lawsuit in D.C. And the fight to protect behavioral health funding from drastic budget cuts pushes forward. Behavioral health advocates are calling on Maryland lawmakers to not cut about $116 million in funding for these critical services. During a press conference, advocates say through the proposed budget, services like school mental health, Maryland's 988 helpline, and Medicaid could all see some cuts.
These are tough budget times. There's just no question about it. And we have to make some really difficult decisions. And this is compounded by what's happening down the street in Washington, D.C. And I know that my colleagues and the governor, we are all going to work in good faith to address the needs of the most vulnerable among us. And that's what these services do.
We're facing significant gaps in funding in the governor's budget. With those gaps, we won't be able to support the 988 call center operations. And without sufficient funding, we won't be able to continue to answer the call.
The proposed budget would also stop the expansion of community behavioral health clinics across the state.
Meanwhile, today in Annapolis, a coalition of caregivers, recipients, and advocates united to demand action to fix the nursing home and what they call a home care crisis in Maryland. The group met with state legislators pushing for critical legislative reforms designed to improve access to care, enhance transparency, and ensure better working conditions for Maryland's dedicated care workforce.
So we have a bill that focuses on transparency in the nursing homes, safe staffing in hospitals, making sure worker voices are at the table for home care workers, and also making sure that we have the data we need to support people who have Alzheimer's and dementia.
Care is an issue that touches everyone. Everyone has a care story. And I also, as a person with disabilities, need to know that there's a safety net for me should my health take a turn for the worse.
Now, this rally is part of the National Domestic Workers Alliance's larger campaign to transform care nationwide. And President Trump has picked a new FBI deputy director who seems to be getting pushback from FBI agents. Trump announced the appointment of Don Bongino on his Truth Social account Sunday night. Bongino is a former U.S. Secret Service agent and has ran for a U.S. Senate seat and congressional seats in Maryland. Now, the FBI Agents Association urged for the new deputy director to be an on-board active special agent, as it has been for the past 117 years. However, Bongino isn't and has never been an FBI agent. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Michaela Newton.
And I'm Katara Jones. Still to come, the County Council is still celebrating Black History Month.
Yeah, we'll tell you all about that program hosted today after the break.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Prince George's Community Television, the home for everything Prince George's, is gearing up to start our media training and classes. Come to PGCTV and get hands-on training in field production, studio production, producing and directing, podcasting, and video editing. Classes begin March 5th. Learn from industry professionals on how to write, produce, direct, shoot, and edit, and take your skills to the next level. Register today. Classes begin March 5th.
Welcome back. Anne Arundel County government buildings are back open today. A cyber attack of external origin closed all county buildings yesterday.
That's right. County officials are still investigating the cyber incident and encouraging residents to contact departments about their operation status before visiting. Precautionary measures are still being taken to keep the county system safe, and officials will continue to give more updates as more information develops. Well, the Montgomery County Police is investigating a series of armed robberies at gas stations in Gaithersburg and Germantown. Tonight, they need your help in identifying a suspect. Last Thursday, the male suspect committed armed robberies at a Liberty gas station, a Sunoco gas station, and on Sunday, an Exxon gas station. The suspect entered each gas station, picked up items, and approached the register before pulling out a large kitchen knife and demanding money from the cashier. Anyone with information regarding the suspect is asked to visit the Montgomery County Crime Solvers site at crimesolversmcmd.org. And an Upper Marlboro woman is sentenced to 5 years in prison for felony insurance fraud. 39-year-old Rhonda Keisha Powell pled guilty to 2 counts of felony insurance fraud back in October. Now, court evidence shows Powell submitted fraudulent insurance claims under her USAA renter's policy. She is required to pay almost $60,000 in restitution and will be supervised on supervised probation for 5 years once she is released.
A Suitland man is sentenced to 18 months in prison for robbing an 87-year-old man. 39-year-old Aaron Herndon was arrested for a robbery at a McDonald's in Northwest D.C. back in May. The victim had recently bought gift cards from the fast food chain when Herndon snuck up behind him, reached into his pocket, grabbed his wallet, and ran away. Herndon pleaded guilty to robbery in December. Once released, he is ordered to 3 years of supervised release. And imagine being able to learn and get certified in a skill while still in high school. Well, this is the case for some county students. The students you see on your screen are a part of the school district's Career and Technical Education Program, or CTE, at Crossland High School. Through the program, the scholars get hands-on job training by their teachers in a career field that they're passionate about. Superintendent Miller House toured several classrooms where students were cutting hair and even making repairs to an HVAC system.
A number of our kids can not only leave here with a skill set, but they can leave here with a certification. And that means a lot because they can walk right into an employment opportunity that has livable wages. And I think that's extremely important. More than anything, we want our students to be college and career ready.
The TXV is important because it really helps with the flow of the refrigerant. As you can see right here, it passes through this copper line right here, and it goes in and it really just spreads into the coil itself so it functions properly. We've learned how to overall replace units, how to solder and braze. Everything is really important because, as we know, this is what really helps with the cold weather and the hot weather, and it helps us just be comfortable in our homes, you know.
When Nelson graduates, he will not only leave with a high school diploma, but he also get an EPA certification, which is a requirement for HVAC technicians here in Maryland. In February, it's designated as Career and Technical Education Month.
Well, the Prince George's County Council celebrated Black History Month with a powerful program this afternoon. It was an event honoring the profound contributions of African Americans working throughout history. Students from Thomas G. Pullen School graced the audience with their performances, while the president and CEO of Employ Prince George's inspired everyone as the guest speaker.
And there's no better foundation to lay and discuss as we celebrate Black History Month and talk about African Americans and labor than to talk about the successes of our ancestors and our predecessors. And people say, well, what are those successes? We are those successes. This county is that success. Angela Davis said, I'm no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I'm changing the things that I cannot accept. And I'm sure as we look down the street, we cannot accept what they're doing. And we have to figure out what are we going to do in our part in Prince George's County to change it.
And still to come on CTV News, we sit down with County Council District 5 candidate Kendall Gray.
Back in a moment.
We are women first, but women with disabilities last.
During a military exercise, we crashed and I broke my neck.
When I was in the Air Force, an accident changed my life. I couldn't have imagined the injustices I would face.
Every day, women like me go to the doctor for annual checkups for conditions like breast cancer. Early detection saved my life. But women with disabilities face a cruel reality: inaccessible medical facilities and equipment.
In the 25 years since my injury, I have not seen a gynecologist. There's not one accessible OBGYN in my community.
I found lumps in my breast. I went to a doctor's office I was told was accessible. But when I got there, I couldn't get through the front door.
I don't know where I'd be today without access to testing. Our veterans deserve better. Help PVA fight for access at pva.org.
If words were enough, I would help you bear your burden. I would watch each child of yours grow strong and true. Teach them to read, and to write and to sing, so that their voices be forgotten nevermore. If words were enough, I would sate your hunger, and you would know you are my sister, my brother, my child. If words were enough.
It's so hard to predict a sick kid who just keep getting sicker, but we needed to be together as a family. My family is my entire life. My family means the world to me.
When we're together and we have support from Ronald McDonald House, we can be a little stronger. They provide food and a place to rest your head, and they will help you through every step. That's what gets you through every day when you don't know how else you're gonna make it.
It makes you feel like you're not alone.
Welcome back. The special primary election for the County Council District 5 seat is now a week away. CTV is continuing our coverage to bring you exclusive interviews with each of those candidates.
And joining us in the studio today is candidate Kendall Gray. Mr. Gray, thanks so much for joining us.
And thank you for having me.
So why do you want to be the next council member representing District 5?
I have 20 years experience, and some of the things I've seen recently I don't agree with, and I want to go in and make some changes.
And what are some of those changes?
Some of the changes specifically are for our seniors. We need to make sure they are able to age in place. We need to work on our budget because we have some real issues with our budget. We actually built our budget this year partially on rainy day fund, which is basically a primary no-no. And if you know the Chief of OMB, Office of Budget Management with the county, he preaches that every day. You do not use rainy day funds on reoccurring expenses.
Now, speaking of the budget, the county is facing approximately $170 million budget deficit. I know that you have some background in being an auditor, but how would you actually address that deficit, making sure that we keep some essential services?
We're going to have to look at more than likely our biggest expense, which are personnel costs. We're going to have to look at, I know in 2008 we did furlough time. We were actually smart enough to do that in January, which gave our employees flexibility as to when they would take those times. So it was 12 days that gave them 1 day off, basically a pay period. Doing it this late is going to be a real problem.
And here in Prince George's, affordable housing is a big issue for a lot of people who want to live here. Can you talk a little bit about what affordable housing means to you, and how would you, if elected, ensure that there is available affordable housing for residents?
What affordable housing looks like for me is just making sure that our residents can afford it. What we have is we have too much of our affordable housing based along the district line in our garden-style apartment stock. We need to divest it and make sure that any new development has a certain percentage of affordable housing mixed in it. That will be a number that will be debated among council members, but I'm thinking somewhere along the area of 3 to 5% of it has to be affordable houses. That will give us the opportunity to spread it out throughout the county.
Right now, the blueprint for Maryland is having a huge impact on the county's budget, but what are your priorities when it comes to education?
I have a number of different priorities. One thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to leverage some of the resources that some other agencies. Our library, I would say, probably provides us with a great bang for our dollar. We need to use that resource. We need to use park and planning, because I think in the coming years, education is going to look totally different than what it looks like right now.
And in your district, District 5, the dispute over Hospital Hill was a big issue between Bladensburg and Cheverly. Can you talk a little bit about what changes need to be made in your district, District 5?
What changes need to be made?
Well, do you see like there needs to be some sort of improvements you see in District 5 that you would like to bring?
What I would like to bring is, again, I like to increase the stock of housing. For me, I don't enjoy steps anymore, so I want to see some houses with single level. I think that would be a great improvement. District 5 has a great economic engine going on. I mean, we have a number of real good commercial basis. We have the Landover Mall, all the jobs around there. We have Forest Boulevard. We need to make sure we protect that, make business-friendly decisions. And because businesses have a decision as to where they locate, we need to make sure that Prince George's County is the place they want to locate.
And speaking of economic development, how do you actually plan to leverage economic development in District 5? Like, what actually is your plan?
Plan to leverage? Well, with economic development, we have to first of all work with the developers. They come, we have zoning laws that allow a right to build for certain things. We need to first of all look at what they bring. We need to look at rolling back some of the state regulations which put a serious time limit on how long we have to approve it, because it really negates the council's or the district council's ability to negotiate with developers, because the state has basically said we have to move in basically 120 days. And basically the developers can wait us out and then push some stuff that is really not the best interest of the citizens down our throat.
And if elected to the council, how would you be able to promote transparency and accountability on the body?
I would say we do need to look at an IG, Inspector General. We have an excellent organization right now, audits and investigations, but I think we should have an Inspector General as well.
What do you see as the most pressing issues our county is facing currently?
Budget. If we lose the AAA bond rating, it's just going to be a huge game changer for us. We cannot afford to have that happen, so we need to make sure we close that deficit down, do not create another one, and start actually putting money into a rainy day fund, because we have pretty much spent a huge portion of it. Last year we had a similar situation. There weren't a whole lot of cuts. We actually built a budget this year on $40 million, and we're looking at almost a $200 million deficit. That's a lot of money gone out of that account.
And how, if you were elected to the county council, would you be able to promote, how would you be able to bring big businesses to the county?
What you do is you help with education. I'm not sure that dollars is the pure problem of education. We need to look at some other issues there. That helps. Business-friendly environment, again, we cannot. One of the things we have, I know labor is not going to like this, but we have these project labor agreements which exclude non-labor places from bidding on certain projects. I think we need those project laborers, but the dollar amount needs to be increased so that our non-union facilities can bid on some of those jobs. And some of these jobs last 3 years, so if it's a $3 million project going for 3 years, that's only $1 million a year that a person can make off of that. And excluding all non-union places is a problem for me.
Do you consider crime as a huge issue in our county right now? And if so, what is your plan to lower crime?
Yes, crime is and I think even more is the perception that you're unsafe. It's a real problem. We do need additional police officers. That's why I'm recommending that we put sheriffs back in our high schools and middle schools. We need to put those police officers on the street. And we do have some police officers that are doing things that a civilian can do, and we can move those officers as well. The problem is when you get in a police car, shift change, you're probably a call and a half down, and that's priority calls. So you're basically spending your 8 hours literally trying to catch up.
Well, Mr. Gray, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And this special primary election will be held on March 4th, and early voting starts tomorrow.
Make sure you tune in tomorrow as we introduce candidate Christopher Wade, only on CTV News. And in just a minute, we have the Tuesday Sports page.
That's right, and we're going to be talking about possible shakeup on the Washington Commanders. Don't move.
You've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. You have to carefully monitor your health for the rest of your life, and you have an increased risk of developing cardiovascular disease.
Cut.
Type 2, take 2.
Action.
You've been diagnosed with a new purpose, to fight for the amazing life you made for yourself, to look that risk of heart disease square in the face and say, no, not me. You've been given a new opportunity. to live. Get started at NoDiabetesByHeart.org.
When I found out my son was using marijuana, I thought it was just part of adolescence.
Lots of teens and young people get high. But then I found out how powerful today's concentrates are.
I couldn't believe it.
It's far more powerful than weed from the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
When teens use vapes or dabs, the potency can be 80 to 100% THC.
THC can cause addiction, hallucinations, paranoia, anxiety, and cannabis-induced psychosis in youth.
For teens and young adults, marijuana use comes with increased risks
of suicidal thoughts, planning, and attempts.
And these high THC products can be bought almost anywhere.
From gas stations to dispensaries, I had no idea.
Talk to your children well before they experiment with today's potent THC products.
Get educated.
Help them understand the dangers are real.
Just Say No, KNOW. Go to justsayno.org today for the facts.
Okay, everyone, it's time for your Tuesday Sports Page. Beginning with some news from the gridiron, an NFL vet could be on the move as the Washington Commanders have given defensive tackle Jonathan Allen permission to seek a trade. The two-time Pro Bowler is entering the final year of his deal in 2025 and has been a leader on the Burgundy and Gold's defensive line for over almost a decade. The 30-year-old is coming off of season riddled with injury as he was limited to only 8 games due to a torn right PEC. In his Washington career, Allen has totaled 42 sacks, 118 QB hits, and 60 tackles. Meanwhile, the Bowie State football team has announced their spring schedule. The schedule features 15 practice dates, a coach's clinic on April 5th, as well as the annual spring game, which takes place on April 19th. All practices are open to the public, and fans are encouraged to watch it from the bleachers of Bulldog Stadium. For more information, visit the website right there on your screen.
In other news, it's exciting time to be a Terps baseball fan as the season is in full swing. And along with a new season comes new players, as well as the team added multiple transfers during the offseason. CTV Sports caught up with utility player Chris Hokopion, who talked about what his new teammates bring to the team.
First of all, we got big bats to the team. We got some guys that can throw on the team. But I think, we got guys like Hollisport, Liam Wilson, Aiden Hill, who are going to hit in the middle of a lineup and really bring that competitive, culture that I talked about. And they're also good guys, good locker room guys. So this team's it's a good team. It's a fun team to be around. We all get along real well. And I think we're just excited to, put it out on the field. We've been working so hard for so long. I think we're just ready to rock.
Chris and the rest of the team took to the diamond at 4 for their game against Delaware. And that wraps up CTV Sports Page. And let's get a look at our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight will be mostly clear. Tomorrow, it's going to be mostly sunny with a high of 61. Thursday, we're still in the 60s and we'll have a 50% chance of rain. Friday will be nice and sunny with a high of 50 and a low of 37.
And for our community calendar tomorrow, the Largo Kettering Branch Library is hosting a Career Connector session. The session will focus on using ChatGPT and other AI tools for job success. Whether you're looking to improve your resume, boost interview skills, or stay ahead of industry trends, explore how it can help shape your career journey. This session is from noon to 1 p.m., but for more information, contact 240-455-5451.
And that wraps up CTV News for now. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a good night.
our time.